Hey everybody, it's Jedimanda here and welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a pretty cool video to show you guys. The awesome people at Plaid Products gave me the new cosplay kit to create a cute, fun little tutorial video for you guys of my project of my choosing. So today I'm going to use most of these products to make a little mini katana fan, because that's all I live right now for, which is Mortal Kombat. Pretty much that's all I want to play all the time is Mortal Kombat. But anyways, here's a little video of what we have to offer. So let's get into what I'm going to choose to do. First things first, pick your fan you're going to make. And I will go over the materials and products later in the video. Right now I'm just kind of showing you all the different types of fans that I want to make that Katana has to offer, which is a crap load. So it took me a while to figure this out. Scrolling through the rest of her fans, I came across the combat knives, I believe, that I want to make, which are these right, scroll down more, those, yeah, I think I'm gonna make these. I like the way they look. They look like they can read well with some easy materials to make like the knife part out of, and also the fabric blade part in between. Seems pretty easy from what I want to do. Plus, I'm probably going to take my own interpretation on some of the angles and some of the parts of the knives, of the fans. So let's get started. First things first, grab yourself a notebook and a pen and paper. So let's start drawing out what we need. And what we need first is the little knife, a template pattern for the knives to be able to use as a pattern for the popsicle sticks, which is what we're going to end up using. Please ignore my very poorly drawn knives. I think I need a ruler. There we go. Get those straight edges a little better. Much better. Continuing on, I wanted to just go ahead right here and sketch out what I needed to do for this. And that was just, I needed to get the shape right, get the look down, what I wanted to do so I could expedite the process this much faster. After I got this one down, I went ahead and drew the other shape because there's two distinct shapes of the knife parts of the fan. So go ahead and draw those out and kind of understand what you're doing. After you've got some of it drawn out to where you understand what you're going to do, go ahead and start building up your materials. I found these really cool, oddly shaped craft sticks at Michael's for really cheap. I know there's like way too many in there that I'm going to be using for this project, because ultimately I'm just going to be using 5 of these for the project. But I liked the shape they were already. They kind of alluded to the look of the blade already. And so they're just really easy craft sticks. You can also probably use popsicle sticks, but you'll probably have to trim them down to whatever shape you want to do. But for this, I found some really cool popsicle sticks that I'm going to use for our little project here. And they're like the right shape to make this little mini fan that I can easily take to conventions to help cool me down because it's hot to be in costume. So right here I am testing out the cutability, is that a word I just made up? I think it's a word I just made up, of the wood with my craft knife, and lo and behold, it cuts really well. So I was like, perfect. Now let's check it out and see if it cuts anymore. Yep, it cuts just as good. Awesome. Move on to the next materials. Please be aware when using sharp knives to remove all pets and cattails from your work area. For some reason, my cat loves to put his tail right in the middle of my workspace. Freaking cats, man. Okay, so we have our popsicle sticks. Let's go over the further materials we'll need for this little project. Besides popsicle sticks, I'm going to be using a large assortment of the plaid paints that I showed you all at the beginning of the video. Also, you'll need some Mod Podge, which came into the awesome Plaid cosplay kit, and you will need a Dremel with a drill bit so you can drill a hole at the end of your popsicle sticks. You'll also need some little tiny washers that you can find at Lowe's, along with a nut and screw that you'll be able to put at the end of your popsicle stick knives so you can open and close the fan, because right, you need your fan open and closed, of course. And the next thing you'll need to do or grab is definitely some fabric for the inside blades. Me showing off my Dremel bit there. For the inside blades, and if you want to use some interfacing, you can. Other than that, you don't have to. And of course, sewing machine. I think I have covered the majority of everything as you see me draw out and write out everything else. Other than that, definitely a water basin. You'll need some brushes and probably a pencil to draw everything out, ruler, and of course craft knives to be able to carve down your popsicle sticks. Oh, and grab some sandpaper while you're at it because you don't want these popsicle sticks to be all shredded and awfulness, right? Yeah, nice and smooth. You want them nice and smooth. All right, so I got my shape with the popsicle sticks that I carved down with my craft knife, and with the wonderful power of editing, boom, I have all 5 now. I know, I'm so good. Okay, go ahead and grab some sandpaper and just take a light sand around all of those edges that you cut because you don't want any pieces of wood flaking off, or that could hurt your fabric, it could hurt your fingers, you know, when you're operating your mini fan. Go ahead and take it to all the edges of this, and then after that, we're gonna go ahead and drill the hole in our fan blades with our Dremel. Dude, don't we all wish sanding was this fast? Literally probably my least favorite thing to do in any project is freaking sanding. Ugh. Okay, so now all the pieces are sanded. Now we're going to determine where the hole is going to be for us to put the screw and washers and nut throughs to hold our little fan together. And mine are a little different because my shapes of my fan blades are a little different at the bottom base than most, but this is kind of whichever you prefer. So I aligned them all in a big stack, and I determined where the hole was, and I went ahead and marked the hole with a pencil, and now I started drilling through it with a Dremel. I did use a really tiny little drill bit to get all the way through, but it worked out. So just make sure you kind of hold your popsicle stick firm and sand the little edges around a little bit so no more shards of wood get anywhere, and continue to do that throughout the rest of your the tiny edges of your fan blades. That's what those are. Tiny little fan blades made of popsicle sticks because we're making a 4th grade class project. That is also a deadly weapon used by a Mortal Kombat character who is just one of the badass chicks of all video game universes. Whatever, I'm rambling. Let's go to the next thing. Okay, all the little holes are drilled in the edges of our little blades, and I just kind of took the drill bit from my Dremel to see if everything lines up. And yeah, just put it through there. It looks like everything lines up and looks like it's gonna actually work. I think I'm gonna be able to pull off this tiny little mini katana fan. Super cute, right? Next, let's make a pattern piece for the fabric that's gonna go in between the blades. Pretty simple here, just kind of line up all your blades on top of each other and lay them out on a piece of newsprint, cardboard, any kind of pattern paper thing that you can use as a pattern piece to cut out your fabric that will go in between the blades. Now, you're going to want to be pretty accurate with this, and also don't forget to add your seam allowance, as you will see me do much later because I forgot to add it into the pattern piece because I struggle with a lot of things sometimes. But as I'm doing it right here, this is going to kind of show you how to lay out your fans to make a pretty basic half circle crescent moon shaped thing for your fabric in between the blades. Yeah, more rambling. Here, just watch what I'm doing. At this point, I'm going to fold up the paper and pretty much just make all of the things even on all the sides. So when I cut it out, it will be the same shape and sides for all edges, you know, whatever shape this is. I don't remember. Geometry and I were not friends in high school. So I think this is what, half circle? Yeah, just a half circle. Yeah, so find the radius and the half circumference. And I don't know, I'm not even gonna start throwing math jargon out because what's the point? What's the point even? Ha ha. I did find at this point that my pattern piece for the fabric is a little too tall and won't be able to fold down well, so I think I just took about a 1/2 or 3/4 of an inch down from the outer half circumference edge line that I drew and trimmed that away. Once I trued up my pattern, I went ahead and moved to my fabric that I'm using, and I am using a very nice fabric called Silk Dupioni from Silk Baron in the color that I cannot think of right now. I will put that in the link below if you want this specific color. But a 100% silk or a silk blend with polyester would be a great option for you to use in between your fan as your fabric, but it is solely up to you what kind of fabric you want to place in between your fan blades. I just happen to have this as a scrap, and I thought it would look really pretty, and also it's really nice to paint on as well. So right now I went ahead and laid my pattern piece down, and I'm actually adding back in the seam allowance, which is just a 1/2 inch that I forgot to add onto the pattern because I struggle. Now that pieces are sewn out, I went ahead and sewed them together, made a sandwich, and also did some lovely top stitching on the outside. I did turn them inside out, and so the seam on the outside does not show, and everything's nice and enclosed. And the bottom edge that I'm showing you right there is just a simple overcast stitch with a zigzag that I did on my machine with a really short stitch length and a really long stitch width. No, excuse me, short stitch width, long stitch length. Blech, that is a tongue twister. So I've got my fan piece all laid out. Now I'm just going to go ahead and lay out my fans to make sure everything makes sense. Looks like everything's going to make sense, so it's going to kind of fold up like I have right here in a sad way that I'm folding this up. But ultimately this is what it's going to look like in the end. Come on. There we go, something like that. Okay, now let's move on to the painting. Yay, we're gonna paint the blades first. So these are the colors that I chose from my cosplay box from the wonderful people at Plaid, including, of course, brushes and paints and the Mod Podge. I'm using both the matte Mod Podge and the spray ultra Mod Podge, which I found really freaking cool. I'm going to be using the matte Mod Podge to seal up the wood and the spray to seal the paint once I'm done. So grab yourself a water basin and a palette, load up your brushes, and get ready to paint. Okay, like I said before, I'm taking the matte Mod Podge that I got from the Plaid box, and I'm gonna go ahead and seal the popsicle sticks. Now I am doing this so it's much easier to paint if you seal anything that has, it's basically able to soak up the paint. It's going to take way less paint for you to do to cover the whole thing, way less coats. So go ahead and take the time and seal up this wood popsicle stick with some Mod Podge. Before you go any further, you will be so happy you did it and not have to do, 20 layers of paint instead of just 2. Now that all of my sealing is done, I'm going to go ahead and grab the brushed metal silver one. I think it was the pale silver that I used to do the undercoating for my blades and paint all of my pieces. And I really love the brush metal because it actually looks like metal. Like, this is a great paint, y'all. Go get some and use it. It's worth it. I did end up putting about 2 coats on each side of each popsicle. Now on each of my freshly painted little blades, I'm going to go ahead and draw out the pieces, the spots on the blades that I'm going to be painting blue with a pencil and a ruler. Just like the silver, grab some blue acrylic paint and paint in the spots that you want a different color. Okay, so this is like my favorite part that I figured out. So this new Plaid paint they have, it's called Color Shift. It's basically iridescent paint that goes from one color to the other. And I'm using that color shift on the blue of all of my blade pieces, and I think it is like the coolest thing because it's kind of hard to tell here. There is a difference in the color. Look at that in the bottom left, that's where I placed the color, and then it was over top of the blue. So I went ahead and did this teal on the rest of the blue, and then I took the color shift black gold, and I'm going in between the blue and the silver, kind of giving it some weather, giving it a little dimension, and then I use my finger to kind of move the paint around to give it some more dimension, because dimension is cool and makes your blades actually look like they were once worn or used, you know, to chop up people in a very awesome video game, right? Yeah, totally. Now that all my blades are finished, I'm taking the Mod Podge Ultra Spray and giving the front and back sides of my blades a light coat of this sprayable Mod Podge. That actually is really freaking cool, guys. Worked out great. It didn't leave any like spots, which is what I thought it would. So this is actually a pretty cool product. I suggest you use it more. Now, let's start painting the fabric, and this part's pretty self-explanatory. I went about 2 inches in from the top, marked it with some chalk, and then I'm just gonna fill this big stripe in, with silver paint. Nothing really crazy fancy done on the fabric, just giving it some more dimension, some more color, and you know, more fun stuff, right? Oop, yep, I forgot. I did use another darker silver to go in between the non-painted and the painted areas of the front and back of the fabric, just to give it, you know, of course, dimension, like I was talking about earlier. With a tiny brush, just go along the edge. Alright guys, we're in the home stretch. I have the fabric painted and I have the blades painted. So now I'm taking my blades and laying them on the fabric to make sure all of it kind of makes sense. And I did run into one little thing that I ended up changing, is that I ended up taking a little half moon section out of the bottom middle of the fabric. You'll see here. That was for the whole purpose, just to make it, you know, fold up easier. So now I clipped the pieces to the fabric and kind of did some mock folding and tried to make some indentions on where I know the folding is going to be. And once I have my blades in the right spots where they need to be and my fabric is folding the way it needs to be, I completely forgot to tell you about how to glue it down. Pretty simple. Take some hot glue, put it under the fan edges, and glue it to the fabric. Easy, right? Moved it to the iron, and I went ahead and pressed down with a press cloth in between and in between your iron and your blades to make sure everything lays nice, doesn't get stuck, and made my indentions of my blades. So now everything is looking nice and kosher. The last thing you need to do is grab the screw and nut and washers that I recommended everybody grab. And these I just got, they were I think like 60 cents from Lowe's. They're the tiniest width screw that I could find with a blunt edge and washers to be able to fit through the hole. So tiny, but they ended up working exactly for what I need. Went ahead and put it through there. I left the screw pretty obvious because, it's fine. It's just for me. It's a little con fan, you know, that I take with me for my outfits. And now that the screw is in there with the washers in between the blades, so you're able to throw open the fan and be dramatic with the fan and be able to close the fan and also be able to fan off your pizza that apparently is also really hot, that I didn't really, you know, cool down until my fan. Oh, there we go. Cool down the pizza with your new fan. Pretty cool, right? This thing is super cute and really, really customizable to whatever kind of fan you want looked for your project. And even if you're looking to make a fan for maybe not Katana or another cosplay, this is a very simple, basic tutorial that you can use to make your fans. And try not to hit the camera as you're doing it. I just want to thank Plaid for sponsoring this video and getting your awesome super cosplay paints and products to me to be able to make the video. I really do appreciate it. If you guys have any questions about this build or want to find out more information about it, check out the description below. I will have many links as I can for you all to make your own little mini cosplay fan. Adios!